So this is a little exercise you can do to help improve your cue ball control and a way of checking how accurate you're being in terms of position. So all you need for this exercise is some sort of marker. Now I'm just going to use a small piece of paper. You can use anything for this, but really you want something that's quite thin, because there might be occasions when the cue ball rolls across the paper. So you want something that's not going to disrupt the path of the ball too much. And then all I'm going to do here is play a standard game against myself. And then after the break shot, each shot that I play, I'm going to place the marker on the table roughly where I think the cue ball is going to end up. So we're not looking to be exact, but maybe 3 to 6 inches within your marker in each time, depending on what sort of shot you're playing. And this is a really good exercise for making you think precisely about where the cue ball is going to go, so that you're always in control of the cue ball on every shot. And it's good because it gives you a gauge as well of how well you've done in terms of position. It's quite common that you think you're going to put it in a certain place, and you'll fool yourself into thinking that you're roughly in the right place. Whereas this really gives you a marker of how close you were to where you expected the ball to be. So it's a combination of putting the marker where you want to be and also where you can realistically get to. So here I'm just going to play a little stun shot. And I've ended up really close to the marker, so this is a really good start. Sometimes you might end up on top of the marker, so you just need to be a little bit careful when you're moving the marker each time, and you may need to mark the ball and pick it up just to get it out of the way. So every shot you're lining things up, and you start by looking at the position you want to be in. So I'm looking here at where I want to be with the cue ball. Then I'm looking at the shot I'm playing and working out how I'm going to get into that position. So this is where I'd like to be. So I can get down onto this ball to the bottom corner, and I'm looking at this ball and working out if I can play this with some top spin to come off the side cushion and get back across into that position. I've got the path of the ball quite good, ended up fairly close to the marker but not quite got the distance on it. So now I'm sort of slightly hampered on this shot. So it was close, but it wasn't quite as perfect as it needed to be in this particular shot. So now I'm stuck here really with having to play topspin on the ball, so I'm going to have to try and force the ball down into the bottom cushion and back up again, and I'm going to try and get on this red over to the right hand side. So I'm just trying to work out the angle, and that's sort of ideally where I want to be, on that red down to the bottom. There's going to be a tricky one because of bridging over the red ball, so the chances are slightly lower in getting a good position on this shot. Got the top spin, but went forward a little bit too much and haven't really got the angle. So you can see I'm now probably 12 inches away from the marker. And because we haven't got good position, we're now not in a great position for the next shot. So it shows you also how important it is to be in the right position after each shot. So now, having to put this ball down to the bottom corner and working out the path of the white into the cushion and back up for the ball to the middle. Now, quite often you'll put the marker down and then you'll look at it and you think, well, that's not quite where it's going to go. So you can adjust it as many times as you want. Take your time, get down on the shot. If it doesn't look right, then adjust your marker. So we'll play this in fairly gentle pace, off the cushion. And we got fairly close to the marker, but we finished a bit below it. So that sort of changed my shot. I was planning on playing that one down and then in behind the yellow. But now I'd be playing up and I can't get onto that yellow, back across to the middle. So here I'm going to play the yellow into the cushion off the back of the red and try and cover the bottom corner pocket. So even when you're not going for a pot, even if you're playing a safety shot, you still need to consider the position. You want your white ball in a good position to not allow your opponent a good shot. So I'm planning on playing this and putting the white down on the bottom cushion. So not only are we covering a pocket, but we're making the next shot difficult for our opponent. So we've played that in there, and we've actually played it too well, and it's dropped into the pocket, which has unfortunately left us in a snooker. So it was a good position on the white, but because we potted the ball that we weren't planning on potting, we've left ourselves in a snooker. So again, even in a snooker, you should be planning on where the white ball's going to end up. So I'm planning on playing across the table, trying to pot the yellow to the middle pocket, and then we'll come off the side cushion, off the top cushion, and down into that position. So obviously the further you travel, the more cushions you come off, the harder it is to judge exactly where you're going to be. But you should still have a rough idea in your head. So we'll go here and try and get out the snooker and we've missed it. But you can see we've still ended up fairly close to where we were. Obviously, if we'd have hit the yellow, we would have been fairly close to where we want to be. So now we're taking over as the red player, and we've got 2 shots. So we'll probably look at playing the ball down the line. Now, I'm going to play this and follow through, play this shot with topspin. So because the red is probably going to cross where I want my white to end up, I'm going to just put the marker on the side of the table and mark there is where I want to end up. If your marker is going to get in the way of the ball and might dislodge it, you can always, as long as you've marked somewhere that you want to be. So play that and we'll come down. We've missed the pot and not really ended up too close to our marker, so it's not a great shot. But we've got 2 shots. So now, because they're not particularly good, we'll probably look at laying a little snooker. So we've got these 2 balls we can hide behind nicely here. So that's where we'd like to be, get the white tucked in there nicely to give ourselves another 2 shots. So we can screw into this ball here, we're bridging over it slightly, try and just a little jab, screw back into the bottom cushion up behind those 2 balls. And we've just come just a fraction wide, so we've not got the snooker on that. Again, fairly close to our marker, but we needed to be more precise in that instance. So here we're back on the yellow. Now we can put the yellow up to the top cushion. We need to get enough screw back to avoid going in the middle pocket, and we just need to come off the cushion a little bit and back onto the black down to the bottom corner. So just working out the angle, and we've got to judge the pace. We don't want to travel too far, so a nice little sharp screw back. Got the pot and nicely in position of the marker. Now I've made a little bit of a schoolboy error here and not checked that this black goes before coming around to that, and actually it's incredibly fine. It just about goes, but it's going to be very close to the red, almost touching it. So I'm placing the marker where the white will end up after the pot, but we've just caught the red. We've got close to the marker, but the black ball's missed and gone fairly safe down on the bottom cushion. Now the red player could go for a clearance here, but they've also got a fairly easy snooker, which might result in 2 shots if they miss the black, or it might mean that the yellow player develops the black for them. So we've just placed it there, got a nice simple snooker. That's a fairly easy snooker to get out of, but if the yellow player doesn't pot it, then it opens things up again for the red player. So here the natural angle in the cushion takes us too wide, so we look at playing this with lots of check side, hopefully straighten ourselves up and get into the black. Still looking at the position of the white ball. If we're going to come into that black, we just want to pop up behind those 2 reds, so we hopefully don't leave anything for the red player if we miss it. So we're playing with lots of check side, straighten the ball up and nearly make the pot. So now the red player with the black hanging over the pocket has really got to go for game, because there's not many options here. So we need to be quite precise with our position, make sure we plan out the order of the shots and try and finish up the game. We've got the plant on these 2 red balls, might sneak behind the black as well. So we'll play this one fairly straight, just across and roll up to the middle of the table. Fairly good position, within a good couple of inches of it, which is good. Now we'll probably look at playing the one to the middle, then the one down the side, and then we've got the plant to try and sneak in behind the black. So we want to end up fairly straight on this, so we're just going to just roll through an inch or 2. Almost perfect on the marker. And then we come down and check just where we want to be, just working out exactly how to get that plant in behind it. It's going to be a slight angle on it so that we can play it and also get up for the other red further up the table. Don't want to be dead straight on it. So we're looking at coming down a little bit lower than straight. So we look at the angle, come down. So we're just slightly lower. Get down to the shot. Sometimes you get down and you think, oh, that's not quite right, so you can adjust it. So you come down and see the angle you're going to come off the ball. Still not quite right, so we're just going to adjust that slightly more. It's going to go a little bit closer. So we're just going to roll through on the shot and hopefully end up nicely on our marker. Fairly good position there. Because we're not playing this plant dead straight, we're playing low on the top ball, then it gives us a nice angle to get up to the next red. We're going to come up behind the red and back across to the opposite middle. And we're not been quite right. We've got a good position on the white, very close to the marker, which is good, which is the whole aim of this exercise. We've not quite made the pot, but the black's fairly safe, so the black player's really only got the option of going for a double, so we're looking at the cross double here to the opposite corner. So even on the black ball, it's a good idea to, especially when you're travelling a long distance, make sure you know where that white ball's going so you're not going to go in off. Played the cross double nicely, and we've gone up through the marker, probably travelled quite a bit too far, but we fairly sure that that line was safe to finish the game without going in off. So as we saw in that previous example, we placed the marker as part of a game where I'm playing against myself. You could obviously also do that against an opponent. We quite often do that in my team where we play against each other, and it feels like a normal game, but by placing the marker it just adds that element of practice to the game. Or you could do what I'm going to do here and do one of the practice drills, any of the practice drills that you might do usually, and you place the marker just to add another element to it. So this exercise is about cue ball control anyway, so this just adds an extra level to it, so you're being really precise, and it's a way of checking how good your position is. So particularly on this drill where for the first few balls you could probably land anywhere and still be on the next ball, this just makes you think about exactly where you're putting the cue ball. So probably when you're doing this drill, you're going to want to be in a few inches of the marker each time, rather than sort of 6 inches away as we were before. So it's a little bit more precise. This means that you're always looking at exactly where you're going to be, how you're going to move on to the next ball, planning the following shot as well. So you can see here we're getting pretty close to the marker each time, and actually there's a few occasions where I land on top of the ball. If you do that, then just place your chalk or something just to mark the ball, move the marker and then put the ball back in place. So again, it's a combination of working out where you want to be and then also where you can realistically get to. So quite often I'll place where I want to be, then I'll get down to the shot and adjust slightly where I'm going to get, where I think realistically I'll end up. Obviously on an exercise like this, we're not hitting the cue ball too fast, so it's easier to get closer to the marker, and that's the whole point about cue ball control. The closer you can keep things together, the easier it is to keep control of the white ball. So we're not running up and down the table very far. We're doing short little screw back or top spin shots, or stun, and trying to be as accurate as we can, so we're constantly in control of that cue ball. It's never running away from us. If you want to see more practice routines and pool tutorials, then please remember to subscribe. And if you're interested in any of the equipment I use in this video, then there are links in the description below.